The Earth's climate is changing, and the choices we all make are a lot of the reason why. Those two simple facts are under siege from an illegitimate news network, Fox. The far-right channel has fought against the science of climate change for years. In fact, the more one watches Fox News, the less one really knows about climate science.
Progressives all the time are telling you that the science is settled, climate change is no longer debatable. And if you take a look at it, that's the case.
Of course, scientists are going to continue to debate some details. That's what scientists do. But there is no legitimate debate about the fundamentals of climate change. The Academy has laid that to rest.
But you wouldn't know that if you get your news from Fox. Their science reporting has ranged from gross distortion to outright deception.
Global warming. New Yale study says 57% of teens understand that global warming is caused mostly by humans' activities. Is it really now?
I don't believe climate change is real. I think this is global warming hysteria and alarmism.
So-called global warming, which isn't happening.
Global warming is illusory. We're actually going through a period of global cooling.
Calling carbon dioxide a pollutant? Come on.
Look how much pollution I just put out.
A lot of it would be laughable if it weren't so dangerous.
This is our Fox News global warming alert for you. It is freezing.
Blizzard versus global warming. Who do you believe, Al Gore or your freezing butt?
A pre-winter into winter storm like Europe hasn't seen in years. Forget about all that global warming talk.
It's not global warming, I'll tell you that.
Another storm could be headed this way next week. Global warming, where are you? We want you back.
The effort to claim that a particular snowstorm denies the reality of climate change is, of course, silly. The problem that it creates is it makes it more difficult for people to recognize that there are some weather events that are consistent with the trends and with predictions of climate scientists that we should be paying attention to.
What I think it points to is this really proud ignorance on the part of Fox News. You know, they're really not at all interested in looking at the science and the peer-reviewed studies to see what scientists are actually discovering.
We report, we'll let you decide.
They've helped to create scandal where no scandal really existed.
New developments today involving those hacked emails from Britain suggesting scientists are fudging data to make their case for global warming.
This is a scandal that blew the entire environmental movement to shreds.
Hide the decline. That seems like deliberately changing the data to suit your way.
The lasting effect is that people now have some more doubt about whether or not climate change is urgent, whether or not global warming is here and now as we know it is, or whether it is somehow questionable.
There have been numerous independent reviews, and in every case, no wrongdoing was found, and the fundamental science has been reaffirmed. Fox perpetuated the story. They, I'm sure, covered a handful of hacked emails far more vigorously than they covered conclusions of the National Academy of Sciences or of mainstream scientists when they find new evidence that the climate is changing all around us.
Their slanting of the news comes directly from the top. In late 2009, in the midst of global climate talks, Fox's managing editor Bill Salmon instructed news staff on how to deceptively report the facts.
We uncovered that Bill Salmon had sent an email to the journalists of Fox News and told them that they shouldn't report that the planet had warmed in any period. What he wanted them to do was to cast doubt on the temperature record. And he said that anyone reporting claims that the climate had warmed should immediately note that the data has been called into question.
But skeptics say the record-keeping began about the time a cold period was ending in the mid-1800s, and what looks like an increase may just be part of a longer cycle.
What we wanted to see was how views about EPA's regulation of greenhouse gases were being represented on television news outlets. So we did a search dating back to December 2009.
In 2009-2010, Congress failed to pass comprehensive legislation to limit carbon pollution, but EPA still has authority under the Clean Air Act to reduce global warming pollution.
And we looked at all the guests who spoke about this issue on 9 networks. And what we found was that 76% of these guests were opposed to greenhouse gas regulations. And if you look at just Fox and Fox Business Network, that number jumps above 80%.
we're seeing a very distorted picture of what EPA is trying to do. In fact, they're required under the law, and they have a long history of adopting sensible standards that reduce pollution while protecting our economy, and that's what we expect EPA to continue to try to do if they're allowed to do their job, which is what most Americans want.
Like the rest of their climate coverage, from so-called ClimateGate to their attacks on climate scientists, the point seems to be to confuse the issue. What they're doing is distorting the truth to fit a right-wing agenda. You can hear it in the talking points they use, the same ones used by Republican politicians.
For the first time in the history of keeping records, there's snowfall on the ground in all 50 states.
Mr. Speaker, since the release of these emails, it has become very clear that the science is in fact not settled.
I don't think that anyone disagrees with the fact that we actually are in the middle of a cold period that started about 9 years ago.
But there isn't even one study that can be produced that shows that carbon dioxide is a harmful gas.
Every time we exhale carbon dioxide.
We don't know what those other cycles were caused by in the past. Could be dinosaur flagellants, or who knows.
Everything looked frozen right to the depths of the ground, and it just makes you wonder, where is this global warming that's going to save us?
The facts of what's happening to our world should not be a partisan issue, but many conservatives and Republicans, for one reason or another, have made it one. And Fox, as the communications arm of the Republican Party, has been more than happy to help.
Fox News viewers are the Republican voting base. I mean, Republicans go to one news outlet. There's one that they trust, and it's Fox News, and they don't trust anybody else.
There's a remarkable degree of consistency between what anti-government think tanks, conservative politicians, and Fox News say about global warming.
Groups like Greenpeace have documented for a long time the funding of the sources of the climate deniers, and pretty much every single one of them, over 90% of them, are funded by an organization supported by ExxonMobil.
The Koch brothers in particular, which is oil industry money, have put millions of dollars into efforts both to block legislation and now to block EPA standards on carbon pollution.
And these groups are set up to influence the public debate, and they often work through conservative media outlets like Fox News.
If you accept the basic facts about climate change, government has to do something. Government has to both prepare for climate change that's unavoidable and take steps to avoid climate change that's unmanageable. If you hate government and you are opposed to everything that government tries to do, you can't accept those facts. So their effort is to perpetuate a debate about reality rather than focus on how we should be dealing with the reality of climate change.
It's never been more clear that Fox is not news.